Desks and chairs are all around the room. A thin layer of dust settled on them. There are some easels in the corner, so at least this looks like the right place. The room is flushed in sunlight from the big windows, shadows creeping all over the desk. Specks of dust are dancing in the stagnant air, making the beams of light almost visible. Jokingly, I call into the empty room. Anybody home? Something catches my eye, and I stop mid-sentence. That's an awkward thing to walk in on. Sitting on a desk is a short-haired girl, curiously wearing a boy's uniform with a fork between her toes, a morsel of food stuck firmly on the end. This odd way of dining seems to be caused by her apparent lack of hands. Obviously, no shit, Hisao. But her presence here is what takes me aback even more. How did I miss her before? She's sitting in a corner very still, but I still somehow took her as part of the furnishing or as a statue at first glance. I'm not being too observant today as a whole. The girl seems to be frozen in place, staring at me with her huge eyes like a rabbit in headlights. She's staring at me, her mouth wide open, ready to accept the fork. I'm staring at her, my mouth wide open, and suddenly remembering I didn't finish my sentence and trying to think if I should. This weird stalemate keeps us both stunned into silence, punctuated only by the wall clock ticking rhythmically. Hello! The girl stuffs the forkful in her mouth and now is staring at me expectantly while chewing. This is a bit awkward. Hello. I was told to pick up some supplies from here for some festival stalls, I think. I didn't think there would be someone here. There isn't. That's why I came here too. She picks up another forkful. Doesn't that mean you're here then? She raises her eyebrows as if she was expecting my observation was false. You're pretty observant. I guess it does. But who are you? This girl's pretty straightforward, isn't she? I'm Nakai, Hisao Nakai. I just transferred in on Monday. I'm Rin. Tezuka Rin. Rin Tezuka. I won't shake hands with you, but at least we know who we are now. That's very nice. Wow. I wish I could shake her hand. I mean, if she had any. Her deadpan manner of talking makes it hard to determine whether she's joking about shaking hands or not. It kind of bothers me. Joking about these matters doesn't feel appropriate at all. Well, I'm trying to figure out what's appropriate and whether this girl is. She seems to have lost interest in me and now is gazing yearningly back at her food. Can I continue my lunch? If you don't mind me, I won't mind you. If you need to get your stuff, the supplies are at the back. Go right ahead, but lunch? School's already over for the day. What word would you use then? There's no word for a meal you eat after lunch but before dinner, right? It bothers me very much too, but I don't really know what I should say. I don't think you're supposed to eat a meal between lunch and dinner to begin with. But I'm hungry now and my delicious box lunch would go to waste otherwise. I have curry, it's very delicious. With much decisiveness, Rin once again picks up the fork between her toes, and with at least as much impoliteness, she points it straight at me. So Nakai, what brings you to this place? Like I said, I was told to look for these things. No, the school. From outside you look fine. Is your problem inside? I come to a full stop, opening my mouth but not getting a word out. That was very blunt. Huh. She's a very blunt person. 420. I can guess. I'm good at guessing. Better than most people. Rin cuts me off before I can answer a question, or skirt around it somehow. I don't know which I would have done. I froze in front of this issue again. I haven't even told anyone here about my condition, or maybe it's only because it hasn't really come up. Yeah, it's kind of come up. You just decided not to tell. Because you're secretive and you don't like people to know your weakness. I do get the feeling that not making issues of this is a part of the social code here, as the teacher said. I wonder if the people here could relate. Probably not any better than any normal person could. I can't relate to Shizune's circumstances, or Lily's either. Naturally, while I go through this in my head, Rin keeps considering what my condition could be with an overtly contemplative look on her face. She puts her fork between her lips and leans back, looking at the ceiling as if the answer was written up there. A beam of light illuminates her face from the window side, creating a mask of dark shadow on the other side. I don't think it's anything in your head, and something in your guts would be so boringly ordinary, like this lunch of mine, and less delicious. The problem must be in your pants. This messed up Sherlock Holmes kind of statement and the sheer lack of tact it was delivered with catches me completely off guard. That is amazing. Wow. Hisao, you just got roasted hard. Unlike your penis. I think I might have reeled back even physically as Rin's eyes widened in revelation and astonishment. So I was right. There is something wrong with your tackle, isn't there? Still partially in shock, but recognizing the need to reply something, I spit out the first thing that I can think of. No, nothing like that. I have a heart problem. Arrhythmia. I said it. More like blurted it out, but I said it. Well, in that circumstance, I think anyone would blurt out their actual problem, rather than have her think that. The girl in front of me purses her lips together and glowers at me, looking very disappointed. How boring. Trouble in the Pants would have been so much more scandalous. What's with this reaction? I'm sorry to let you down. I forgive you, just I collect people and a person with, that kind of problem would have been really great. Collect people? What? People with different problems. Huh, so you just go around asking people what's wrong with them? Pretty much. I see. It's a very awkward thing to just go around and ask people. I mean, maybe she doesn't see a problem with it. I mean, she has no arms, so how can anyone else really judge her? So, are these chicks the only ones with these disabilities here? Is there no other person in the school that has no arms? I don't know if they mentioned that or not. With a lot to say, Rin resumes her lunch and the conversation dies away, but I keep thinking about what was said. It's the first time I told anyone else about my condition. All the other people have either known about it already or heard it from someone else, or didn't need to know about it like every other student here so far. Should I have told it as a natural part of introductions? Is it expected of me? Hi, my name's Hisao. I have heart problems. I said that before it popped up there because I'm a genius. Is that how I'm supposed to go around introducing myself from now on? As if our disabilities would define us. What a disgusting thought. Maybe this Tezuka girl just has an unnatural interest in such things. Probably. As I walk to the back room and pick up the items on Misha's list, the chance opens the study room Rin from the corner of my eye. Her hair is a burnt auburn, almost orange, and cropped short. Long hair would probably be impossible with no arms. The boy's uniform and lack of arms make her look very thin, almost scrawny. She's not particularly pretty, except for her murky green eyes, which flicker restlessly from below her short bangs, even when she eats. So why is her shirt like that? She could wear a smaller shirt, right? And just, cut off the sleeves or something? I mean, I can understand the pants thing, but it doesn't make any sense. The distances, or just the one distance, and the shadows make it seem like they don't reflect sunlight at all, but instead absorb all of it within them like deep wells. She moves her feet almost as deftly as a normal person would use their arms. However, I can see how this sight could discomfort people, especially while eating. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, at least. I hesitate to think about the word unnatural, but it's too late now, isn't it? I keep searching the cabins and shelves for Misha's things, but after enough time passes, the silence grows too uncomfortable, so I try to force some conversation out of the strange girl. So do you always eat alone in this light, or do you get the occasional visitor? Visitors? Maybe you're my first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes I eat with a certain person on the roof if she's not horsing around. Horsing? She likes to do sports. Oh, that's all I can think of to say. Both of us fall silently again as Rin forks the last bits of her meal to her mouth. I look down at my haul and double-check it with Misha's list. It seems I have everything except plywood. Hisao, make conversation. So I think I have all the things now. No, you don't. That's very nice for you. Don't feel obliged to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. You need to do whatever you are going to do with that stuff anyway, right? Or perhaps you like to watch girls sleeping? Not sure what to make of this, but Rin looks serious. Even if I did, I think I have to be going. Well, you didn't deny it. You didn't deny that you liked watching girls sleeping, Hisao, so you're kind of weird. Maybe that's why you're here for. You freaking sexual monster. I'll catch you around, Tezuka. You can call me Rin. I feel that our relationship is, at this point, good enough to warrant this much. I was already turning to make my exit, but she draws me back in. Fine, then I'm Hisao. Then you are. ... Rin looks at me hard in the eyes, but that intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. That's... wow. That's like... she's just peering through your soul. It's like she's actually not looking at me at all. She blinks a couple times, and I can't figure out why a pause like this just popped between us out of nowhere. See you later, Hisao. There's something like a tiny smile there in her face, maybe. I quietly back out of the room as I shut the door in front of my face. I whisper to myself, what an intriguing person. From inside, I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that! What did she hear? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had not heard approaching despite the completely empty hallway. Why are you here? Leave me alone. Somehow she has gotten to the jumping distance of me without making a sound. Creepy. It briefly reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about a global feminist conspiracy, but I push that thought aside. Never think about that ever again. Shizune, standing slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention, but Misha is visibly excited. No, wait! More importantly, who is in there? There's no club meetings today. She tries to curiously peek past me, even though the door prevents her from seeing anyway. What are you doing here? You took so long that we had to come check what's wrong. That's no good, Hichan. She wags her finger at me scoldingly. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you were tardy. Oh, sorry, I got the things here. I was just gonna bring them. I think you were up to some mischief, Hichan. Who was in there with you, I wonder? Misha signs something quickly to Shizune, pointing at her own ear a couple of times. Uh-oh. Shizune immediately pushes away past me and opens the door into the classroom. I just left. I can only imagine the shock she's experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much to bear. And indeed, she stares at Rin, frozen in place apart from the slight but noticeable trembling of her shoulders. From suppressed rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, and slams the door shut, turning the sign furiously at Misha. Maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. Jesus. She's just sleeping. It's not like I was in there. She shoots a very loaded stare at me too, as if it was somehow my fault that Rin is sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello. Rin's voice comes from the other side of the room, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize she might have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Rin directly behind it, looking at us with a half-interested, half-sleepy face. Hello. ... Miss Tezuka, what do you think you were doing? You absolutely are not permitted to use school property for such a disgraceful activity. It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was this popular. It's hard to say whether she's happy or not happy about this turn of events. At any rate, she ignores Shizune Misha's scolding, so they have no choice but to drop the issue. That's great. Just ignore them completely. It'll go away. Shizune taps Misha's shoulders, points at Rin, and makes some quick signs. ... Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. ... Anyway, how's your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Rin looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure of Suzune's cold stare is putting on her. I keep wondering about that myself too. ... And? We'll think about it harder. As Misha signs her reply to Suzune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown. ... Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch on it. Rin nods assertively. We'll think more seriously. Misha actually giggles at that, but Suzune doesn't, not even after translation. She just shakes her head, takes the materials from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo. How rude. It's true though, I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it, like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to an unforeseen future. Rin seems like someone I can relate to. I'm about to ask what project she has and what are these apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint can doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks lightly at a huge can of paint that is lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. Being the gentleman I am, I naturally pick it up. Well, you wouldn't just leave an armless girl to try and pick that up by herself, would you? That would be awful. Heavy. Yeah, sure, where do you need to take it? Away. Right, wow. That, wow. Specific. That's, I know exactly where that is. I'll be there in a second. And with that, she takes off to the hallway, me and the paint can following since there's little choice for either of us. The hallway is quiet and empty now with Suzanne and Misha gone, so we too leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to another because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. I hate it when that happens. That sucks. Grin strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching. Or maybe I'm walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in the form of the head nurse and his fox-like grin. Oh, Mr. Nakai, what a happy coincidence. Tezuka too, of course. He nods courteously to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me because obviously it's me who he had some business with. There is something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait impassively because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about this interruption either. It's about your medications. Since you have been that long on your current medications, there might be some unexpected side effects which might require adjusting dosages or even changing to another kind of medication. So we will do a few tests regularly, but what I want is for you to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off. If you get what I mean. Nausea, headache, anything. Then come see me if something happens. Alright. So how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that lately. Other people have asked me that too. Teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school, except this school. This is a small school. Both the student base and the faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway. ... You didn't say anything? Are you kidding me? That's great. Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you've been at neither the school track nor even the pool, so I'd like to know if you've taken up any exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but his way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off on the track since the very first day. You have people spying on me? Not as such, I just happen to know a few people, but that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually just doing some improvised weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift the can up and down a few times like some sad imitation of bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down on my arms painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back like it was never gone. Tezuka, would you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you're still in your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything, like dieting. Can you promise me to be more serious about this from now on? Oh my gosh, sure. Yeah, I promise, definitely. He studies me for a moment and then shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consultation to you if you want to jog a bit. Consultation? See you around. That's weird. He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer, and I walk to Rin, who has been waiting, idly leaning against the hallway wall and staring at the pale lighting fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting medications for your heart thingy? Were you listening? It comes out more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out on her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's not her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about confidentiality, too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Rin's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulder, quizzically, her head tilted like a bird's. Sigh. Sigh! I don't know why this so. I don't know why this is so hard for me. It feels like there's some inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're from my heart. Will they make you better? No, not really. They just make me a little less worse. Rin keeps looking at me for a while longer, and she neither says anything further nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. I'm thankful that she doesn't. I think I'm still not quite used to all this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted my feelings about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building and Rin leads us onwards towards the dome. Ah. Yeah. Ah. My throat is dying. We stop at the small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built on a slightly elevated ground and a wall and a few trees that everyone has to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design in the school. The entire wall, made of the same kind of bricks as the building itself, has been covered with some sort of painting. Most of it is still mere sketches, quick lines drawn in black and white against the gray plastering that covers almost the entire length of the wall, but some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seem to be paint cans are arranged in piles on the ground beside the wall. See, the left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I couldn't get in the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate instead. Then it was suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from art class are helping with the negative spaces and base surfaces whenever, which is a problem. It's easier to paint big areas if there are a lot of people with hands. The reach is better, and it's faster too. She goes on a tangent of a tangent, waving a little with her arm, or whatever of it there actually is, to demonstrate, even though I got the point already. So she's painting this wall with just her feet. Like, what? Does she have to use a ladder? That sounds very complicated and hard and a lot of tough work, and I will give her all the respect that she needs, because I don't think I could ever do that in a million years. The white cotton of her sleeve flaps around, and it makes me think it could look sadder than it does. That's awful. But it makes me feel out of place, like almost every tangible reminder of the student base's special properties that has in the past few days. This girl doesn't notice my dreary feelings, of course, or the fact that she lost me a while ago already and just keeps on blabbering. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there is something I need to figure out, and then figure that out before it's too late and all hope is lost. Why would the hope be lost? Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to dry, and then it has to be painted over with another kind of paint. It takes time. She finally stops, apparently thinking she made some kind of statement that makes sense. I think it's best to start from the top. Yeah, that really, I don't think I understood any of that, but we'll act like we did. So, this is your project. You did this? Yes. All of it? Yes. Nice, but I stumble with my words, suddenly feeling like I walked straight into the minefield of political incorrectness. It's okay, you can say it. I probably won't get mad. I blushed really hard. I don't really know what would be the right thing to say, if any. It feels I'm way more sensitive than Rin is, though. This is really awkward. Don't you want to ask? How do you paint without hands? See, I'm an easy person to talk to, right? With my feet. I almost guessed that already, but isn't that hard to do? You're good at guessing. Anyway, I don't think it is, but maybe I'm used to it by now. I can't get my mind around the fact that she could be an artist, but seeing how adept she was using her feet to eat, I figure painting might not be a problem either. Neither of us has anything more to add to the subject. Dude, eating with your feet would be badass. I wish I could do it. Though I'm pretty sure other people would probably hate me if I did do that. The afternoon light works pretty well. I was afraid it would look too flat, but it's not like that after all. I think it's actually pretty interesting. I wanted to see what it looks like in dim light. Do you think it's flat? Well, paintings tend to be flat. Not like that flat, flat like some people are. No substance, no meat where there should be some. I know a few girls who, okay, I get it, but I couldn't really tell. I'm not that good with art. I can't name many artists or artistic terms, so I don't really have anything to say. Rin shrugs her shoulders at that, saying suit yourself without saying it, and looks up at the sky as if trying to look for something up there. I didn't think I'd get any actual work done, but if you give me a hand with the paints, I could do a little before it's too dark. I wanted to get a halogen lamp like the ones they have at the sports track, but they aren't any. Rinshiro is quick to recruit my help, as was Shizune. It really makes me feel that the festival is such a big project that every pair of hands is needed. Haha! Oh man, Hisao. With the jokes. He has no hands. So, how? She has no hands. Why not? I'm not really sure if I can be of any help, though. It's just mixing some paints. You can do that, probably. Do you have motor control problems, like, you know, those people who have some? Cerebral palsy, maybe? Not that I know of. I get it. Heart thingy has nothing to do with that. She gives me a sly look for no reason. No, it doesn't. Let's do it then. So she sits on an empty wooden box and very naturally picks up a wide brush between the toes of her bare right foot. I open a few of the cans and pour some of the contents into shallow bowls for mixing. The thick paints flow lazily from the can to the bowl like syrup. I mix them, creating funny, hypnotic-looking swirl patterns that melt quickly into each other to form a new monotone hue. Rin sets to work every now and then, asking me for a hand with something or the other. ... Finding different brushes is easy enough, but mixing the paints to be the exact tone this girl is apparently seeing in her head is a frustrating ordeal. She wants precision down to the last millimeter before she is satisfied. But her instructions are obscure at best. Add half a splash of green. I crouched down to pick up the can of bright green. The other green, this green. I carefully pour some of the other green paint into the mixing bowl. No, that's almost a whole splash. More white. Is green a good color to add? No idea, you're the artist here. A hint of smile appears in the corners of her mouth. Do you lack an opinion? No, it's just that I have no idea. It's okay, because I just got an idea. Add more white. With this exclamation, I pour a minuscule amount of white in the bowl and mix it. Looks slightly whiter. No way. That's not good. It has to be like the color when you wake up and you know that you saw the meaning of life in your dream but can't remember it. Maybe it's yellow. Despite the impossibility of mixing a color like the change of seasons or any other nonsense that being imposed on me, I find myself enjoying it more than I thought I would. Oh, Jesus. Ah, man. That was the longest I've ever recorded this game. But we're getting there. I'm going to finish this game if it's the last thing I do. Seeing a painting being born on the plastered walls feels like magic. I spend the moments I have between mixing paints crouching down on the paving and just looking at her work. It feels slightly intrusive at first, like breaking some imaginary intimacy, but Rin doesn't seem to mind the least bit. Maybe it's just in my head. Her entire presence emits a completely different air as she patiently works the details, adding layers of paint on top of other layers of paint, steadily moving her foot across the wall to add new shapes. When I manage to produce a passable mixture of paint, the rare smile on her face is oddly rewarding. Apart from the few words when discussing paint mixes, neither of us says a word for the longest time. And even though short discussions soon evolve into shorthand, both of us developing and using a weird impromptu code words for various paints and hues, as if there was some need to conserve words of breath and sound. Makes sense, I think. We stay there late into the evening until it becomes too dark to paint properly. Well, great. Oh, loading! We made it to a loading screen. Oh my god. We got somewhere. Jeez. Wait. No, like, goodbye or anything? Just scene ends. That's it. Well, that's fantastic. Don't say goodbye to the girl, Hisao. Girl with no arms. You let her down. Well, anyways, I think I'll see you next time. Whenever that is. Hopefully soon, because I'm a lazy asshole. Well, see,